Alrighty. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you all are doing well. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Kristen Young. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Executive Director of LeaderShape, and I'm super excited to share with you all about our upcoming national sessions of the LeaderShape Institute and help you learn a little bit more about our programs and how you can get involved. Joining me today is my colleague Vernon. So Vernon, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure, Vernon Wall here, he, him pronouns. My title is Director of Business Development for LeaderShape. And what that basically means is I'm the first contact person for folks who are interested in our programs to basically answer questions and get a sense for what they need on their campus.
Perfect. We have another staff member joining us as well. Juan, if you would like to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hello, my name is Juan Mendizabal, he, him pronouns. I'm the Director of Program Quality and Management at LeaderShape, and I'm excited to see you all here.
Perfect. And great. And our colleague Abby Prince Atwood is also joining us. She's had to just step away for a moment to take a phone call, but she will be back, but she's here and joining us as well. And, you know, as we introduced ourselves, we'd love to know who you all are. So we're going to use the chat feature this afternoon. So if you could just go ahead in the chat and let us know, introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns as you feel comfortable in doing so, and what campus you're joining us from. We'd like to know where everybody is joining us from today. So go ahead and just drop that in the chat. While you all do that, I will let you know, I'm sorry that you'll have to see the tabs on what we're doing. I couldn't get, the reason we started a little late is I couldn't get it to present in presenter mode. So you get to just see it in this mode. I love technology. It's awesome to see familiar names and new names, new folks joining us. So here is how we are going to spend our time together during our hour that we have. We will be talking about the overview of the 4-Day Institute, talking to you a little bit about who should attend, how to recruit participants as students, and giving you an insight into the schedule of the week so you know what to talk to people about. We'll talk to you about the cost to send students, about scholarships that we have available and accommodations and help that we have with transportation. Then we'll talk about next steps and we'll answer any questions that you all might have. Really for us, that questions piece is so important. The joy of being able to gather together on Zoom is to be in real time and find out from you all what do you need to know, what questions might you have. So we're excited to have that as part of our time together. And again, thank you all for introducing yourselves. It's awesome to see people from all over and some past participants. Super fun, super fun. So let me talk to you a little bit about the overview of the 4-Day Institute. And before I get into the nitty-gritty details of that, I want to talk to you just a little bit about the Institute itself and really its history in terms of our program and its program development. So the LeaderShape Institute started in 1986. It's the original program that LeaderShape was founded on. And the purpose of that program, and still the purpose of it today, is to bring the students together to begin them to have the conversation about what would the world look like if anything were possible, and how do you do that and work to create that in a way that is grounded in your values and grounded in integrity. And so when you ground your conversations in integrity, in values, what type of world can you create? And we've been having that conversation with participants now for over 35 years in the space of the LeaderShape Institute. And through doing that, our hope is that we create some leadership capacity in them to be able to go out then and to create that world, to put their values into action on both individual scale, so in their personal relationships, and then also in a larger community impacted scale, whether that be your college campus or even larger than that, the world in which we live. And so, when we think about that, for us, the LeaderShape Institute has been a way to provide that time and space for people to have those conversations, to do the personal reflection, and to build a larger community, both with the people that are there at their session, and then when they take that back to the campuses that they are a part of. And so that's probably the broadest picture overview that I could give you of the Institute as you think about that. It definitely is a personal development experience for students and a community building experience. So it tries to do a little bit of both. And I think one of the unique things about the Institute, of which I think there are many, but one is the immersiveness of the experience, and how we really want everyone there in that community, participants and facilitators alike, to be fully present and to really engage so that they can contribute the most and also gain the most from that experience. And so I mentioned that started in 1986 with sessions like these that we are planning this summer, these national sessions where students would come from all over the country, from all types of different institutions, to experience this together. We did that for a number of years. And until 1992, that was really the only way that people would experience the LeaderShape Institute. In 1992, the University of Michigan had been sending a number of students to national sessions, and they came to us, the staff at that time, and asked if they could have a LeaderShape Institute on their campus. And our staff at the time was like, no, we don't know how to do that. We only know how to do what we've done. And the student who actually came to the staff then with that question said, well, you tell us to practice a healthy disregard for the impossible. So can we do the Institute on our campus? And so we strive to be an organization that practices what we teach. And we said, absolutely, you can do that. We have no idea how to do it, but we will work with you to make it happen. And so that began our partnerships with colleges and universities to do the Institute on their own campus. And so I don't know how you've heard about LeaderShape, or if you've experienced it yourself. The programs are identical, whether it is a session that happens on a campus or at a national session. We provide the identical curriculum and same experience. It just is a matter of access and how to be able to get more and more participants to have this experience. And so, it's been great over the course of time. We definitely have grown our partnerships with colleges and universities in how they partner with us to be able to either host it on their own campus or send students to national sessions. And so we are back, as you may have seen with some of the marketing that we've given so far, we are back to hosting sessions of the Institute, thanks to the multiple pandemics, and really thanks to COVID shutting us down. The last time that we hosted a national session was 2019. So we are super excited to be back here in 2023 with the Institute. And one of the things that you may note if you knew about LeaderShape before the pandemic is that the Institute is shorter. And that really was a direction we were even moving prior to the pandemic. We had heard from a lot of students in their feedback that 6 days was too long for them to be away from their jobs, from their families, from their responsibilities. And so it was hindering their participation. And so our team had been working, we had been working prior to the pandemic for 3.5 years in modifying the curriculum for the experience to be able to provide the same experience that we had in 6 days, but in 4, so that we could have more students who have access. And so that's what we will be hosting here in May. And I'm going to pause there because I'm giving you a lot of information. And I know that we said we would put questions at the end, but as we're going, if you think of questions, please feel free to share them in the chat, and either Vernon or I can pause and answer those, or Juan and Amy may be able to answer you in the chat, or we'll come back to them at the end as well if we don't get to. So please feel free to put that in. So that's where we're at with the kind of an overview of the Institute. So I thought I would then just show you a little bit about, what does it look like, kind of nuts and bolts and timing wise. The 4-Day Institute itself, and the one we'll be hosting here this summer, will begin at 10:30 a.m. on the very first day, which is May 14th. And we ask that as students arrive by 9:45 in the morning. And that very first day, we allow for some time for students to kind of get settled and accommodate for their travel And we'll talk about kind of travel as we get started, or after we go through kind of in depth with each day. But with that, I want to turn it over to Vernon. He's going to kind of walk you through the first couple of days.
Thanks, Kristen. One of the things that I think is really important, I think for those of you who know us and have maybe even sent students to an institute pre-pandemic, the big question is, so really, can you do a 6-day institute in 4 days? The answer is absolutely. And the reason why is because two things. Number one, we start earlier on the first day and we end later on the last day. And we've not, and this is very important to know, the evaluations that we have every year, the number one thing that people say about the Institute is their time with family clusters. And that's the small group experience that happens throughout the Institute. We did not touch that time at all. So in the 4-day Institute, they still have the exact amount of time with their family clusters. Now, we did sort of massage some of the activities. And as Kristen mentioned, this is an immersion experience. And so what I love about the Institute is we keep them moving. Small group, large group, pairs, triads, activities. We want to make sure that it's not about us lecturing at students. It's about them together experiencing this curriculum. And so we're pretty excited about that. The first day, as you can imagine, is around gathering. And the theme that we have for that day is the value of one, the power of all. And that is about coming together. These are a group of students who, many of them have never met each other. So it really is important for us to really engage in inviting them into community. That is where we introduce the concept of family clusters, where they're basically small groups that are facilitated by a professional or graduate student that we will select. And then they'll participate also in a challenge course on that day, and also to talk about equitable leadership too at some point. So those are some of the things that are happening on day one.
Oh, you need another slide. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And then day two is challenging what is, looking to what could be. One of the things that is something that is a project, in essence, that students are involved in, is developing a vision for the future. In other words, we take them through a process to say, basically, what are you passionate about? What's important to you? And we have them think past their campuses. And much of it is around really thinking about, so what would you like to impact? And one activity that does happen at the end of the Institute is that each student develops what we call, our activity is called Tomorrow's Headlines. And we say, you have your vision in terms of this is something that you feel that you'd like to continue when you leave working on. What would a headline look like in a newspaper or blog if that vision became a reality? And so you can imagine an activity with newsprint all up in a room with students with visions that say, poverty has been eradicated. All women are seen as equal in the workplace. I mean, all of these things, you can just imagine those. And so, and really it is about them thinking about what would they like to do once they leave after 4 days. And we develop a process for them to really think about what that looks like and how they can then get back to their campus and move toward that, that vision that they have. So those are the first 2 days. Really, it's about gathering people, getting them in, getting them to really talk a little bit about what does it mean to be in community, activities that really get them to know each other in their family clusters, moving toward equitable leadership to get them thinking about, so what does it look like in our world and our country in order to be engaged? And I will say what's interesting about this, well, I'll wait and talk about students later, so that'll be enough. That's it. That's day one and day two.
Perfect. So then day 3, we are talking about living and leading with integrity. And so for this day, we really are talking with students about what are their values. We're helping them do an activity that's actually pictured here, a t-shirt activity. Where do they to determine what their values are, and then share those with everybody else in the learning community. It can be a really powerful experience to think about then how do we also live those values in our daily lives, and we give them some opportunities to practice those. And then we have some conversations around power and privilege through the Star Power activity. Many of you may be familiar with Star Power as a learning tool. For us, we really use it to engage and deepen the conversation, which we've been having throughout the other 2 days, but to really think about power and privilege and the role that that plays in leadership and in the world in general. And so then combining that day, really thinking about who is the person you want to be as you live your life, right? How do you want to live in alignment with the values that you have, live in as a person working towards this vision, and really kind of creating that for yourself. And how do you do that? How do you surround yourself with people that will help you do that as well, is some of the conversation we have that day. And then on the final day, the very fourth day, the last day, it's all about staying in action. Very often, I know when I'm facilitating the Institute, and I think other colleagues who serve as facilitators share this as well, is, we don't want what happens to stay at the Institute to stay at the Institute. The goal is that what happens at the Institute leaves the Institute, what we learn here, how you go out and put these learnings into practice. And so we really want students to spend this day thinking about how are they going to stay in action. So it just wasn't a great fun day, 4 days of fun at a retreat site, but it's 4 days that's going to project us to doing something different moving forward. And so we talked to them about this. We also on this day have time for them to get feedback from their family clusters, asking them, we start out the week, one of the things we start out the week asking them to think about is one area that they want to grow in as the 4 days, as we're going through the 4 days. And so they get some feedback on that. What did they do well in that area of growth? What could be improved? And it can be a really powerful experience for participants to give some peer-to-peer feedback in ways that they may not have been doing before. And then we wrap up that evening or later that afternoon with a commencement, right? Just a way of kind of providing some closure to the experience that happened here, and thinking then too about what is that connection back to your campus. Because again, we really want to make sure that they take that back to your campus, to their communities, to their families, and begin to make a difference. As we think about the structure of these 4 days, Vernon and I both mentioned it is an immersive experience. So everybody goes through all of the activities together. This isn't like a conference where they can kind of pick and choose. Each activity does build on each other. And we do that as a way to just be able to provide depth in these concepts as well. So when we think about the schedule of the day, we typically start around 9 a.m. And go till 9 p.m. It is the schedule that is a little bit shorter than in years past, because we've been getting some feedback that people want a little bit more free time. And, coming out of the COVID pandemic, we don't maybe want to be around people as much as we did before. And so we've built in a kind of little bit of a shorter day by trimming just about an hour out of the ending time, but not moving any content, which I think is going to be a really great addition. And we do want to make sure that even when it is long days, that students are doing the things to take care of themselves. And so we provide lots of snacks along the way, lots of time we provide time for rest and reflections as we go through. And we really want them to be able to be in a space where they can be active and at the same time make meaning of all of the content that we are delivering to them. And then we give them some time as we go through the 4 days to think about what are they learning and what are they going to bring back to your campus, which then you as the person sponsoring a student to attend would be involved in that process and knowing kind of what the follow-up is and how to encourage them and support them. We provide you that guidance as your students return. One thing to note as Vernon and I were talking about the days and about the curriculum, and Vernon, you mentioned kind of how we've changed the curriculum a little bit as well to be more focused. I mentioned earlier that we haven't done national sessions of the LeaderShape Institute since 2019. However, what I forgot to say is that we have been doing 4-day sessions of the LeaderShape Institute on campuses since 2020. So we took a pause for a little bit of 2020 while everyone took a pause, but we have been doing sessions back on college campuses since 2021. So we didn't take as long of a pause in doing those. And so the thing that I think oftentimes is helpful for you all on campus to know is that we have been revising then our curriculum for this institute along the way. And so you're definitely not getting the same curriculum in the institute in terms of activities. You're getting a revised institute curriculum based on feedback that we've had from sessions as recent as August of 2022. So I think that's, one of the pieces that we often might forget to mention, right, is that this curriculum is constantly being redesigned and re-envisioned to be the most engaging that it can for participants and meeting their needs. So with that, I think, Vernon, you're going to talk to us about then who should participate.
Yeah, as Chris had mentioned, we have been doing institutes. We have about 12, I believe, that will be happening in January, which we're very excited about. So we know, though, that having a national session allows for campuses who may not have the resources to host an institute on their campus. And there's just a different energy in my mind when I've done national sessions, because my favorite thing is there's so many campuses where a student has come up to me and said, I've never, ever interacted with someone who's from a fraternity or sorority before, because we just don't do that on my campus. But you have to, when you're with 60 students, you have to interact with people and engage folks who you may not engage when you're on your own campus. And that's something that I've always remembered and always felt really excited about, to see just the energy of folks when they leave with friendships, deep friendships with folks who they may not have thought about even talking to on their own campus. So who should attend? It's my favorite topic to talk about, because I believe there are two types of students who come to the Institute. One, students who are currently in leadership roles, have been in several on campus, and believe they are done. They could teach me how to be a leader on their campus. They know. Then you've got the student who they have never, ever, ever thought about themselves as a quote unquote leader, ever. Now, at the end of the Institute, never fails, those students who come in thinking that they know everything about leadership, at the end are like, oh my God, I know nothing. I need to rethink what I'm thinking about being a part of a community and what leadership is. And those students who don't even think of themselves as a leader leave, coming back to campus, really impacting the campus in ways. I've had campus partners tell me, what did you do to the student who now is applying for every position and never even thought about it beforehand? So those are, I think, the types of students in my mind. It's either one or the other mostly. But we do believe that the curriculum is designed to engage folks at different levels, wherever you may be. I would say, I know many of you, some people, some campuses as partners think of their student body presidents and say every year it's a tradition to send student government leaders or government leaders from fraternities and sororities or residence halls, which we welcome. We welcome. And we also want you to think a little bit about people who maybe what I call the next sort of the diamonds in the rough, the folks who you think, ooh, I know that you can do this. You just need some support to really and truly engage. Also, too, if you're thinking about hosting a session at some point, this is a great way to send students who could come back and be ambassadors of the program and assist you in hosting a session in the future. In terms of, sometimes people ask, well, Vernon, should we, what academic year should we think about? I mean, and the way I enter that conversation is, think about students who will return and contribute to the campus. That's the key. The longer they can be back on campus and contribute. We always tell people, if you send students to the Institute 5 years in a row, you will see an impact on your campus in terms of leadership and development, hands down. And we have the research to prove that from some of the data that we've done in terms of looking at our quality scores, and also too just the impact of students back on their campuses. So think about that. usually that the sweet spot is, sophomores, rising juniors. However, I will say that I've facilitated institutes where there were seniors who were just trying to, they come back sometimes realizing that they've spent 3 years in the wrong major. And now they kind of want to rethink what they want to do as they move toward graduate school. So I wouldn't say limit to, like, I wouldn't say no graduate students or seniors allowed. However, I would say let's balance that. Let's think a little bit about if you do engage folks who maybe seniors or graduate students, get a sense for, what would they want to get out of this? What were some of their thoughts around being involved in that experience? So those are some of the things that I would think about as you as you look at students. We don't ask for we don't have a process at LeaderShape for you to select your students. You develop your process, because what you'll see is we'll just ask you how many people you send in. That's all we need to know. And then now we'll ask some demographic data also too. However, the key is that for us, it's for you to develop a process. We can give you some suggestions and talk with you about some of the things we've seen, and you can ask us some questions. But whatever that process is, give it some thought, and then give an opportunity for folks to engage. For some campuses, it is an application process because there may be some energy around a leadership program like ours. Others of you, you may want to handpick folks and say, I want to nominate you. I've decided I'd love for you to have this experience and come. I'm going to send you to Boston and hang out for 4 days with some pretty cool people. So, Kristen, anything to add? It's usually about 60 to 65 people. It's usually what the national session will be. And I think that may be it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that there's not a limit to the number of people that you can send. So we want to be here as a resource for you. So whatever that looks like for you, and if it's 1 student, if it's 10 students, like that, whatever is most helpful for you as you think about the future development of leaders on your campus. So Vernon mentioned, we don't need much from you, but other than the number of students, we also do need you to pay for the students to attend. So we do need a little bit from you. And so the fee this year to attend a national session of the Institute is $1,450. This fee covers rooms, meals, supplies, but not travel. So you are responsible, or the student is responsible for their travel expenses. And so maybe that's a flight into Boston, or if you're local or within driving distance, maybe that is just a quick drive. But that's on you. We will have a block of hotel rooms connected to the Boston airport to make it convenient. If you do have students who are flying in and they can't get in by the morning time or need to stay after to get home, we will have a room block there. You're welcome to book at any hotel, but we also will have one available with a discount code that you can share, that if that is helpful to you, we want to make that available. We will share some shuttle service information. The site that we'll be using, the Connor Center, is a site that we've been using for, about the last 9 years, I think. So we've been there a while, but it is about 30 minutes outside of Boston. So if you're thinking that you can just get students into downtown Boston and that would be enough, that they will need to get about 30 more minutes before 30 minutes out to the site. And so we provide shuttle information for you all. And then at the end of the session, we do cover the cost of a charter bus back to the airport, so that students, if they are flying back, can all leave. Everybody leaves at once. So you don't have to take care of getting them from the center to the airport. We will help manage that for you all. So that is a little bit about the fee. Vernon, you want to talk a little bit then about if people need assistance covering that fee?
Sure. If many of you may have seen our email that went out about Giving Tuesday, and we decided that the theme of Giving Tuesday would be to provide scholarships for students attending the national sessions. We're excited that we you know, if we wanted everyone to go and not pay anything, we would need $60,000. We didn't get $60,000, but we did get 7. So we're like, cool. So, and we're also continuing to solicit donations from folks is when they're able and if they're able to give. So what we're going to do is as we move forward, we're going to see exactly how much money we do have. And then we will develop a process and let you know in January what that process will be in order to apply for this funding. And we just ask that you think about the fact that, number one, it's going to be needs-based. We're going to ask for there to be a little paragraph or two, answer some questions around, you know, how much money do you need and why? Because we want to make sure that whatever amount of money we end up having, that we really and truly use it in a robust way. That's our goal. And I'll be very specific. If your student government is paying for these students to go, don't apply for any money, because we all know that student government's got money. So if you have the resources to send students, let it go. Because I know that for some campuses, some student organizations and will fund for students to go. So cool. Now, we also know that there are campuses too that have very limited budgets. And that's why we really had a great conversations about making sure that we had some sort of process in order to support folks to attend on campuses where you may not have the resources to do it, because we want as many students to be there as possible. And access is extremely important to us. So just be on the lookout for that. Just know though that as you are recruiting and as you're thinking about your number that you feel that you can send, be thinking about, so what if I don't get the need-based scholarship? What if I do? Because we do want to make sure that this program is accessible for as many students as possible. And our goal would be for this to be free for all students. That's why we ask that folks donate to us. So, but we know that that may not happen this year, but our goal is to continue to do this where in the future, maybe it will be, we'll have enough scholarship money where we can offer this to at no cost to students. So that's where we're at. So here's what's next. And then we'll definitely answer any questions that you have. So we just want to know how many students you want to send. That's the next step. Just be thinking about, and really we have a interest form that we're going to put in the chat, and we'll send it to you also after the fact. That basically all we just ask is that you just share it with us when you're ready, and if you think you got a good number, just share with us your name, institution, and how many slots you'd like to reserve. And then we just ask that you do that by January 31st. And then after that point, we'll be back in touch then with the process for you to share with us names and work through an invoicing process. But we just want to get a sense first so let's see how many students we got and how many folks that are interested. So that's the most important thing at this point. And really that's it. And then after if you think about our timeline, January 31st, we'd like to know how many students you'd like to send. Then right after that, we would send the process around the scholarship and also around invoicing. And then after that, the third piece would be around then you sending us names, so we could then have that. And then we'll communicate. We'll have a process for you to communicate when students are arriving and leaving. As Kristen mentioned, we'll share with you the hotel information. So if people need to stay before the Institute or after the Institute, we do know that, even though we have a bus that'll be taking people back after the Institute, we know that folks may not be able to catch flights on that night. And so they may have to stay over one more night. So we'll be able to negotiate that with folks in terms of, and we would encourage you if on the way back, you may want to stay at that hotel that's right there at the airport, so you don't have to worry about any ground transportation or anything like that. So I think that's it. Anything to add, Kristen? Did I
No.
get some
Oh,
stuff?
good. There's the interest form. I had to stop sharing so I could get to the link, but thank you, Abby. You already put the interest form link in there.
Abby,
So
to
that
the
is
rescue.
that is the interest form that that Vernon mentioned, so that you can, think about what that interest is. Again, it is in no way saying for sure that you're going to do this. It is just helping us as we re-engage campuses in hosting national sessions of what is the interest out there for a program like this, and sending students to conferences again. It's been a while, right, since students have done that. So what does that interest look like? And we want to be able to help kind of predict that, and just give you a voice of like, yeah, this is interesting, and tell us a little bit more, or it's interesting, but no, not right now. So please know that you're not like, we're not going to come back to you and say like, well, you said you were going to send 3 people. Like, nope, we just want to know what the interest level is. So yeah, I guess what questions do you all have for us? We'd love to answer any questions you have, or if you have comments about the things that we've shared, love to hear that as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel Flores. I'm a retention specialist for the EOF program at Middlesex College in New Jersey. I do have 2 questions. So the first one, I'm not sure, maybe I missed it, but the slide that was talking about what is covered under the 1400, does that include registration in of itself?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. So that includes the registration, all the materials that the participant receives, a t-shirt, all of the things of the conference. Yes.
Okay, and my second question, for, when it's time where we reach out to you with our exact number and you send us the invoice and everything, what forms of payment do you take? Because our school only does POs, and I know not every organization accept POs.
Oh, great question. We do accept POs. Yep, that's no
Okay.
problem. So we send you a contract and an invoice. It'll have typically a 30-day due date, I believe, but we will work with your university. I know sometimes people can't pay until after an event, until after the students participate. That's totally fine. So yes, we can work with a PO. You can send a check. We can do it through direct deposit. We could also do it through a credit card. So those are the 4 ways that we are currently set up to take payments.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey. I think that there aren't maybe no other questions, which is great. What we'll do kind of from here is, as Vernon mentioned, we will send you the link again to the interest form, and we'll also send you all the recording of this. If there are friends or colleagues that you have, whether on your own campus or other campuses, that have expressed any interest in LeaderShape, please feel free to share this with them. We'll be hosting another open house in the new year, right, Vernon? I believe. I just don't know that we have a date yet, because who's thinking about anything in the new year? But we will have another one where we'll kind of share the similar information to help people learn a little bit more about the program and what it means to send students. But please feel free to share it amongst your networks as well. And if you have any questions along the way, Vernon and I and Abby and Juan are here to help you with that and make that as easy as possible. We really want to be able to just work alongside you all in the work that you do for students to help develop them. So whatever that is that we could do to help you, just please let us know. Vernon, anything else to say in closing?
Well, I just want to say thank you also for coming in. Also, too, I mean, I believe that there's something magical about being in community together at this site. And I do believe that you will see an impact on your campus as folks engage each other. I do believe it also to get some energy around if you're interested in hosting an institute at some point. These students can be very good ambassadors to talk to stakeholders and constituents. And And also too, thinking about, what's next for you on your campuses around leadership development. And I hope that you'll be able to join us in some sort of way. If you can't send students this year, maybe next year. Also too, we do have other programs. So make sure that if you do want to host maybe a session on your campus and you're not ready to do the Institute, we do have the one-day program Catalyst, which right now is very, very popular, which makes sense. People are coming back and they want to be in person. So as a matter of fact, Kristen just sent out an email to all the facilitators yesterday around finding Catalyst facilitators for January, February, and March, because we got a lot of them. So we're excited. So thank you all for hanging out with us.
Yeah, and we'll stay on a couple minutes if you have other questions that you didn't get to ask, but thank you all and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.